Let's even start from last week. Did anybody has any challenges? I mean, I see some people that Moribuba, I want to check what they actually practice, and thank you for doing that. It shows a level of commitment, and apart from showing level of commitment, it actually shows that you are actually following it, and it makes me to like the time I'm giving into it actually worth it. So I really do appreciate that for everyone that takes their time to actually practice one or two things. I mean, at the end of the day, I mean, the honest truth, once of fun, well, it's not everybody that we started together that we're going to end together. That's just the whole point. But for as many that stay committed to everything, I promise you that you will never regret it. That's just it. So, did anybody has any challenges before we move to what we want to do today? Or Kasolo see Barry, but it would be nice for me to know challenges based on Inkotashini last week, so that because Inkotashini last week I will be building up on it today. So, did anybody has any challenges? Yeah, mo máa assume pé kò sẹ́nìkan ni wa tó ní challenges ní last week. Yeah, so let's go into, let me just quickly give a brief of what we did last week. What we did last week is all about introduction to Kotlin, and we look into some of the keywords that are being used in Kotlin, like fun, like main, the variable var and val. We're able to look at different things that actually separates, I mean, the difference between a variable, which is var, I mean, difference between a var and val, which we try to remind ourselves the one is immutable and one is mutable. And I could remember that we are able to actually go through the part of printing where we actually differentiate between a print line and print, because we able to kind of establish the fact that print line actually has a break line to the end of every word whenever it's printing. Why we're able to establish the fact that prints, if you print two things consecutively, they are going to go horizontally. There's not going to be any break line between them. And we're able to establish the fact that variable is like a container that holds value. And we look at variables name cannot be repeated several times. It can only be declared once. And yeah, so I think those are the things that we were able to establish last week. And I saw some people that have tried, and I mean, yeah, nice one. So today, let's quickly go into what we have today. You can always call me because I'm not going to be checking the message all the time, because it's yeah, I'm not going to be checking message all the time. So if you have a question, you can break me along the line, then we can actually I can actually answer that. So let's quickly go to what we want to do today. For as many that, I don't know if we actually go through the textbook that I sent to us, but we're going to be looking at the chapter 2 of the textbook today. But what I'm coming to do in the class most of the time is just to simplify everything that you're reading in that textbook. So I'm not going to be following that textbook back to back, but the textbook is for us to go back home and kind of read and next to understand better. So today we're going to be looking at Kotlin data types. Last week we actually looked into Hello World and Kotlin variables, but today we're going to be looking at Kotlin data types. Yeah, there are different data type. When I say data, you see, this is data. I mean, this is data. This is data. So I mean, and this is data. And you could see that this is a word and this is a number. So that should speak something to us that we have different. Definitely, there should be different type of data. there should be different type of data, and that's what we're going to be looking at today, that we have different data types in Kotlin. Though majorly we have what they call primitive data type. We have what they call primitive data type, and as well as reference types. Reference types are like the array and the strings. All these things I'm mentioning, don't let it look like Japanese to you. I'm going to explain them one by one. I'm just only laying structure for us tonight on what we should actually, theoretical aspects of it. So we have primitive data type and we have reference type. The reference type are like the arrays and string. Why? So, but basically what we're going to be focusing on tonight, is integer data type. I'm just going to write that. Yeah, I wish. Yeah, so we're going to be focusing on, so let me just quickly make these as a comment. I'm actually meant to, like, I don't know, probably, okay, let me just open a notepad and we can actually see that. So I'm just gonna be, so for us to, don't know if everyone, can you all see my notepad? So because I'm just trying to use that to actually jot one or two things down for us. So we have different data type. One of it is, sorry, I'm going to hide this in my floating bar. Yeah. So one of it that we do have is we have integer data type. Integer data type. Yeah. So we do have floating data type. Floating data type. I'm going to explain every one of them one by one. Floating points. Some people does not call it floating point, but I'm just gonna, for the sake of being formal. So Boolean, don't mind the way I'm calling it, call it Boolean data type. And we do have character data type. So, all these ones, they are actually a primitive data type, which are actually objects on their own. They are all primitive data type. I do tell us that there is reference data type. So let me just put this like this, this is, primitive. This actually fall under the part of primitive data type. And we do have the reference data, reference type as well. If you don't understand what I'm explaining, kindly, just try to call me back. We do have reference. One of the example of it is strings, and we do have array, etc. and the like. So these are reference type. So today, what we want to do is we want to look into all these different data type one by one and see how we can actually use them and how we can achieve them. See, please, I just want us to 100% concentrate, because all these things I'm teaching us, it might look a bit simple to us at some point, but still is actually the bedrock of it. There are things that you're going to use. In fact, you won't be able to do without it in a day in programming. Data type, you won't be able to do without it in a day in programming, because at some point you might have to need to declare a variable. So let's pick the first one. Let's pick the first one. Though this first one, I'm just going to put under this first one, which is the integer data type, is more of like, okay, it's like somebody's waiting in the camera. I wish they can give somebody. Oh, seriously. Okay, I think nobody's waiting. Okay, we do have another person as a host. Fine. So then I'm hearing a kind of a peep, a kind of a sound from my hand. I'm hoping that it's not that somebody's waiting and that I have to accept. That's the part that I'm just scared about. I don't think anybody is online. So let's go into the integer. Integer is like numbers. So integers are numbers. And under integers, we do have different type. We have bytes, we have ints. So these are the things we have. We do have shorts. We do have shorts. We do have long. Now, I'm expecting somebody to actually ask me, why do we still have different type of integer data type? Yeah, we do have them because one thing about programming, we are dealing with data types. It's more about memory. So all of this thing actually does have their own memory that they they do have their minimum value that they can take and maximum value they can take based on memory. So byte is always 8 bits. It's just like the way we used to have 1 gig, this, something like that. So this can actually only take 8 bits, and short can actually take 16 bits of memory. It's going to consume 16 bits of memory, and integer does consume like 32 bits, and as well as long, which is 64 bits. So in practical, let's say uh, let's say an integer can hold a value that is as long as this. Let's say as something like this. Let's see, this an integer can actually hold something like this. Why do we use long? Is it can hold something like this. Something, we don't really need to put all this thing in your head. I'm just only trying to explain better for us. Now, sorry, this should be long. Yeah, so why do we actually, like, since everything is dealing with numbers, all of them are actually dealing with number. Even shorts is actually dealing with number too as well. Like in real sense, it's actually dealing with number. But why everything is not just, why don't we say everything should just be, we should always declare everything as integer, not long? Yeah, it does have usefulness. Let's say, for instance, Nigeria, for instance, an integer is not going to be able to hold a digit of 30 billion. Let's say a digit of length of 30 billion with, like, let's say nine zeros or 10 zeros or 20 zeros or something like that. So an integer will not be able to hold that. So that's why we need to consider, and anytime we have a number like that, we consider long. So basically, most time, for if you are using number as your ID in your database and you're dealing with probably a whole nation, I'm expecting your database, that column of the ID should always have a long data type, kind of. So that's just a bit explicit about that. So let's go into the practical side of it. Let's see how it actually does work, and let's see what's going to give to us. Let's see how it does work.
If I should draw you back a little, sorry, you said bytes can hold 8, int hold 16, short holds 32, then long 64.
No, short does hold 16 bits.
Oh, short 16. Int, what about int?
Int does hold 32 bits.
Oh.
And long does hold 64 bits. So that determines the length of the word, the length of numbers that they can actually hold, the maximum value that they can hold.
Yes. Okay.
So when you are considering, for example, I'm dealing with Nigeria case study, and I'm building an application that is going to span through the whole country. I'm not expecting to actually use integer, even despite the fact that integer deals with number. I'm not expecting to use that because, let's say, for instance, I am able to hit millions of digits and the likes, it's integer will not be able to hold it at some point. So the more your data grows, the more memory it's consumed, kind of. So so now let's quickly go into, let's quickly look into this, how it's being useful to us, how we can use them. So I'm going to create a new code, this thing today, and call it the Kotlin class and call it data type. Remember, we need to always create our machine that is going to, our executor that is going to execute the stuff. So by having the fun. Now, last week I do tell us that I can declare a variable like this and say norms, which is equals to 2. Yeah, Kotlin is smart enough to know that this is an integer. Kotlin is smart enough to know that this is a data type of an integer. But there are some instances that we actually want to explicitly state the type of that data. I don't know whether somebody gets me. Like, there are times that we need to explicitly state that this is the data type, this is the type of this variable. So let's say, for instance, I can actually do the same thing like this. Var norm equals to, let me call it another thing. Let me just call it count, then equals to, so I want to explicitly define a variable type for hits, which is int. Now this is shown red because whenever you are declaring int is a keyword, so it has to be capital letter first. So can you see? Then I can now say to 23. Let's try something. Do you see what happened now? You could see that even despite the fact that I keep typing, it does throw this error because what can you see is that the value is out of range. So it is out of what integer can actually hold. Now, let me try something for us. So we are kind of practicalizing the whole data type. The memory being allocated to each one of them. Let's say long example. So let's explicitly call it long. And let's give it this. So it's telling me that, yeah, so this is not going to, even long actually does have its own what it can hold as well too. So this, let's reduce, let's see whether it's still gonna complain about this. Yeah, you can see that what long capacity of what long can hold, integer cannot hold it. So let's try to remove a bit out of this. So you can see it's not actually, because it can cover the memory of what integers can hold. I don't know if somebody actually understands what I just explained. You can actually declare short as well. It's still like a keyword. I'm just going to call it short. I'm just short of words tonight. So when you are declaring a variable type, it's always like, it's always like this. I'm trying to look the type of the variable. Let me just call it val, then the variable name, then followed by a column, then followed by um, followed by the data type. So these always the arrangements for your declaration. So I mean that's, let me just put these as short. So it's always start with capital letter, and which is equals to 2. Yeah, so these are different type of variable, I mean data type that we have under integer. I mean that we have here, that we have under integer data type. So these are examples of I'm going to share this with us at the end. So that's why I'm trying to put comments on it as I'm going. So did anybody has any question before I move forward? Because we are actually done with we are done with integer data type. So no question, then I move forward. So another data type that we need to look into is based on my notes is I'm not going to, don't let us start with, okay, let's go to floating point data. Floating point, yeah, floating point is more of like a fraction. You see, programming actually covers all aspects of mathematical and even every words that we are speaking in one way or the other. So this, whenever we are talking with integers, they are kind of data type that does not involve decimal, that does not involve fraction. They are always whole number. They don't have, how should I put it? They don't have anything like points in them. But like we have to always deal with fractions. So the deem it fits, like there is another data type that can actually hold anything with decimal, which we have floats and double. Now, the thing is, the float can actually hold, let me just put it in front of it. The float is in memory, is 32 bits, and the double is 64 bits. So this still determine about whatever number of digits or how lengthy the value you're dealing with. You still deal with it. So that, sorry, I was a bit distracted. All right. So sorry about that. So we do have double and we do have, so we do have different. I told us that floats and double is all about decimal. So let's say, for instance, I'm dealing with a value of 23 divided by 2. Don't let us do that. We're going to do some practical about that. But let's say we are dealing with any number that has decimal. It's either it is a float, or it's either is a float or it is double. So let's go into the practical side of it, and let's see how we can get to use that. Please, if you don't really understand what I'm doing, kindly call me back, please. Now, I know it's quite boring right now because we have not get to the whole application building thing, but you're going to appreciate this more when you get to the whole application, because if you have better understanding of this, you're not really going to struggle much when we get to the main side of building an application. So please just bear with me. So when I want to declare a float, it's basically, let me just call it my float. It's basically this, and you declare floats like this. So when you're declaring a float, you choose you put capital F in front of it. This is how we actually connote a float. This is how we declare float. So in front of the value, you have to put capital F in front of it. That lets this variable to know, that lets us to know that this variable is actually a float, is of type of a float. And when you are dealing with double, we kind of like, you can just do 1.346. Yeah. So let's say, for instance, let me put something like this. Double is still going to take it. Double is going to take it, but let me experiment something for you. Even if you declare a value, okay, sorry, my misunderstanding. I told you that I'm also a learner in the whole process too. Sometimes I might forget some things. Yeah, declaring things like this, does not mean that it's a double. It's actually like integer, like this is an integer. You know why it's an integer? Because Kotlin, we assume, because it doesn't have a point, maybe point something, because Kotlin by default, we assume that it is an integer. So you get, because it's still within the range of integer. And I told you that integer does not have decimal. It's not a fraction stuff. It's not a fraction type of digits. So it's going to assume. But if I want to tell this variable by default that it is of type of double, I have to put it in front of it that you cannot accept anything apart from double, apart from anything which is fraction, which is of decimal. So you could see that it's actually, anytime you see a red line in programming like this, it means that there is error. And you could always, IntelliJ is quite smart. When you put it, it's going to tell you, it's going to suggest to you some of the things that I think that you can do. So you can see that it's saying that the integer literal does not conform. So it's telling me that the value that I'm assigning to this double, the value that I'm assigning to the double is of a type of integer. So integer and double cannot work together. So it's telling me is either I had a 0.0 to it to let my variable, or to let my container knows that it is of a type of a double. So for me to eradicate this error, if I'm so sure that I want it to be of a type of a double, I just need to add a decimal to it, which will take away the error. I don't know whether somebody is actually following me. Yeah, so let's quickly do the basic mathematics here. Let's do a basic mathematics here. Sorry, kind of just want to try to do one or two things for us here. So let's say we have a variable x, and I don't declare a value for it, and let's call it 67. And we declare something like this, y, which is equals to 6. And we want to divide, let's say, the answer, which is, let's now say, I want to confuse our head because I just want us to think whether we are following or not. I give it a data type that my answer should always be a data type of integer. So let's say, for instance, and I'll do x divided by y. Let's see what the answer is going to be. Print line Mind you, you can concatenate strings together. You can concatenate words together in printing by using a string. We're going to get to the type of a string plus by using a plus button. This is not the only way to do it. There are other ways to do it, but this is one of the simplest ways to do it. And so let's try to run this. So far, so good. Did anybody has any question? I believe every one of us understand what we are doing. So you can see my answer is saying that my answer is what my answer is my answer is 11. But let me open my calculator and check machine calculator and we see. Yeah, in the recent, the answer should never be 11. Why? Because now, why is the reason why it's giving us 11 kind of, is the fact that because I say it is of a type of integer, in one way or the other, it does round it up for me. I think default is it does round it up to 10. I'm not really sure about that, but like it has round it up. But if we really want to get the real answer, let's change this to double. So that means that anytime you're dealing with fraction, you kind of have to probably specify the data type, which is of double. Now, why is this one trying to, I'm getting things a bit complicated for us right now, but why is this one throwing error? It's throwing error because I'm saying I want the answer to be double. Apart from wanting the answer to be double, it's saying I want the answer to be double, but my declaration here, they are integer. So you get my declaration here, they are integer, which will never happen. It will never work like that. It will never work like that. So the only thing I can do here is to correct this, is to make this as a double as well, which will do this like this. And I can always declare this like this. Which these have to be. So, you know, why I don't want to, I want to be so much simple for us, but I'm just going to leave it like this because on a normal day, actually you are not meant, because they are actually redundant. You are not meant to declare like this. You are not meant to declare like this because there is no point of actually putting the type in front of it, because Kotlin is smart enough to know the type in as much that the value is already showing 0.0. So Kotlin already know that the data type is double. So there is no point. It's just like you are not really writing a clean code. There's what they call clean code. But that's not the main focus today. The main focus is to understand different data type. So bear with me when you see when you're not really seeing, for me, maybe for some professional that are actually watching things online, probably, I don't know. So we can see the value that we do have it in a decimal place right now. But there are other ways of actually achieving this. I'm just going to return this. Let's say, for instance, this value by default, should I let us go that route now? Because I think that I'm actually mixing things up. I can actually do, okay, basically, don't let me mix that up. Let me return it back. What I want to tell us is, what I really want to explain for us is, a data type, it's a type of an integer data, a value of a data type integer can actually be converted to double along the line. Let's say, for instance, I can say test num equals to, let's say, 45. You know, this is integer. This is integer data type. I don't know whether you're understanding what I'm doing, whether it's a bit complicated. Please let me know. I'm having that kind of feeling like I'm just talking to myself. Like, I don't know whether we are following. Please do let me know if there is anything that we don't really understand. So what I want to do here is probably convert. Okay, let's say I do have another test double, and I say that test double equals to test num is equals to test num of a data type double. This is going to throw error. This is going to throw error. Why? Because, you know, value for test num is 45. So, and I'm saying this is of a variable of double. So you can't, it's more of like what I told you earlier on, that you can't assign a double. You can't assign an integer to a double, as well, vice versa, in one word, the holder. So I'm just going to put a comment that you can't to each other. I don't mind stopping here tonight for us to understand. If we do have any issue, please do let me know. So how can we resolve this? The way we can resolve this is, yeah, in integer, yeah, yeah. So in integer, we do have a kind of, and in Kotlin, sorry, in Kotlin, there is a way that we can convert value to another, we can convert a data type to another, a value of a data type to another data type. Now, what you just need to do, just put points in front of it, and you can see different options that it's going to give to you. Now, what did I want to do? Programming, these things, they are like English. What I want to do, I want to convert an integer to double. You can see what it gave to me. It said to double. So basically, that's that. So now let's print the value. So let's print the value and see what is it. Now let me just call this convert to double, so that so let's print let's see what's going to give to us. Yeah, so let's print the answer. Yeah, can you see? It does add 0.0 to it, because every double must always have a decimal. So do you understand what I just explained to us now? The same thing you can do to here. You can actually convert this double to integer back. Let's see what it's going to give to us for converts to int of a data type integer. So let's pick, because we know this one is double. So what you just need to do is just press in front of it to integer. So I'm just going to give you some of this trick. These things are really going to help us along the line. So please, all these ints, mine is just to give us ints of some of, based on my experience, to give us ints of, it's not everything that I'm going to teach us in the class, but I'm just going to teach us some of the things that I think that is going to very, very important that I cannot skip through along the line as we continue. So let's just print this and set the value. So let's do print this variable. So you should see 45. Yeah. I'm expecting somebody to say that why the first one had 0.0 and the other one had 45. You see, we converted 45.0 to, which is a double, to integer. Integer will never have a decimal. So even when you convert something of a double of a decimal number, let's say for instance, now I don't want to cite an example. Let me just use a mouth to explain that. Let's say for instance, the value for this is 1.45555. Anytime I print, if I convert that to an integer, definitely is going to remove all the decimal in front of it and give me the whole number that started it. So if you have 10.50, which is a double, and I convert it to integer, automatically, when I print that value out, it's going to give me 10 alone. It's going to remove all the integer in front of it. Do we get that? I mean, I can move forward to another variable type. Are we fine with that? Yeah, I'm going to assume. Okay, I do have two chat. Okay. Yeah, just keep following us. We should be fine. So I'm just going to assume that we do understand that. So let's quickly go to the variable type of Boolean. Boolean is Boolean or Boolean. I mean, it's just depend on the way you can call it. I'm actually used to Boolean. Was people call it Boolean. I mean, it just whatever that you call it is fine by me. Yeah. So open my notepad. We do have a Boolean data type, which is of it's being used for, let's say for instance, I ask you that is this color black? I want you to say yes or no, and it has an option of yes or no. So it's more of like a switch on and off. You know, when you switch something on, you say it is true. When you switch it off, you say it is off. For some of us that study electronics as our first whatsoever, or probably I'm asking you that, is this thing black? It's either you say yes or no. So Boolean is kind of a true or false check. Is when you want to declare something, whether it is true or it is false. So when you are giving a statement and you're kind of like, is this thing true or false? So you can consider Boolean data type as an option in that one. So it's basically deal with false. Its value can always be true or false. You can't actually assign any other value to it. It can either be true or false. Do we get that? It can either be true or false. So that's it. So let's look at the way we declare that. Yeah, I hope my font is not too small. I can actually increase my font. I hope it's not too small for us to see. Please let me know.
If you can increase it, if you can increase it.
Oh, sorry. People could have talk.
Sorry. God, the first video, I can't even see the font.
Sorry. It just came to my mind now that I'm not the only person working. So probably I need to increase my font. So let me just quickly do that. Yeah. The thing should be fine for us. What about this? Is it fine for us? Is the code itself big? No. I think I changed the wrong one.
It's the same sound.
Yeah, I changed the wrong one. I'm gonna return it back. I'm gonna return it back to 13. 13 by default. Okay, so let's go back. Some more preference. Sorry, this no Android. I don't actually use. Uh, I'm trying to look for where it is. It should be where editor. Okay, yeah, I get it. Yeah, we cool now. Yeah, can we see better now?
Yes, sir.
This fine
This
for
one,
us.
yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, okay. So, so the next one is we say we want to look into Boolean. I said Boolean can either be true or false. We can't assign any other type to it. Let's say we do say, is it, I mean, it's not bad for you to write, is it black? Is it black? Which is of a data type, Boolean. So let's say I now say I do something like this, it's gonna throw error. Or I put anything in front of it, it's gonna throw error. So it's only understand a keyword of true, you will see that it's actually in a kind of orange color, true, or it's either false. It's either true or false. So that's the only value that it can take. So it can only take a value of true or false. Do we understand? I mean, that's all about Boolean. Nothing special about it. Trust me. That's just it. It only deal with true or false. So let's move to the next one, which is character. So character is a bit, I mean, character is quite, I think before I deal with character for us, maybe I should deal with string. I'm just kind of curious which one should I go for first. But let me go for character first before we go to string. So character, basically, just like the way we have, character is just a letter. What should I call it? Character is more of like a letter. Like, let's say for instance, A to Z, probably, no. Siri, I'm not talking to you. Siri was thinking I'm calling. So it's either A to Z or a digit of, let's say, it can just only hold a single value. It can just only hold a single value, 0 to 9, something like this. It cannot hold double words together. How do we declare that? How do we declare that? We are actually coming to the end of the class today. I don't really want to bother us. Like I told you, I do have another meeting to as well too. Well, later after 8, so that's why I'm a bit rushing to. Example of what do I call it? Character. But I do want to get to string tonight with us so that I don't come back to that again. So how do we declare that? The way we declare this is basically is of the data type. Let's say my char, which is, just call it character, just like the way you call it. I mean, programming is quite simple, very simple. So let's say for instance, I do so, it's not going to take this, never. So the way you give this one value is like this, and you give it a single value. So sorry, my bad. It's not going to take 3 value, 2 value whatsoever. It can only be 1. So you can see, I mean, do we understand this? So I'm moving to the last part of the data type tonight, which is string. You're going to use this one very, very well. Example, you might not really use character like that, but you're going to use we're going to use example of string data type. We're going to use these a lot. Let's say, for instance, I want to declare that we've actually used it before, but let's say, for instance, I want to declare that my name, I want to declare a variable called my name, and I'm giving it of a data type string. I can just say my name is Gideon. So let's print my name. So the basic thing is this can take a lengthy word as whatsoever that you want to press inside. It doesn't matter whatsoever that you're pressing inside. So that's the difference between a character and a string. A string can hold a lengthy words, while a character can just only hold a single character, just like the way it's being called, a character. So let's say, for instance, I print this, print line. So print line my name. So if you run this, so you can see them, it's print my name is Gideon. So we've actually looked into different data type. The only one we don't look into today is array. And I'm going to keep array on its own because array is another ball game on its own that we need to look into later. But I'm going to keep it as simple as we had today. So let me quickly recap. What we did today is examples of different data type, which we were able to say that we have integer, we have float data type, we have Boolean data type, and we do have character as well as string data type. And we're able to show different examples of them, what integer is all about, what long is all about, their memory, what they can hold, and when to use them. And we're able to establish what a float is and what a double is. When we understand that everything about float data type, which is of double or of float, they actually hold, they are used for decimal, for any digits with decimal. And we're talking about Boolean, which is Boolean is basically all about false. It's all about dealing with either true or false. It's all about saying that, is this thing true or not? Is this thing yes or no? So that's when we consider using the Boolean. So when you want to answer a question, to say an objective question that says, pick a question, yes or no, you can actually, when you're writing a programming for that, you can actually use a Boolean true or false, which is either yes or no. So it can only hold those values. And we do talk about character, which is of data type of, it can only hold a single alphabet, it's not going to hold word, but it can only hold a single character, just like the way, like A to Z, A, B, C, something like that, or 0 to 9, something like that. And we able to establish the fact the difference between a character and a string is basically their memory, number one. And number two, string can actually hold a lengthy words like sentence that we want to compose together. So those are the main difference between those data type, and we've been able to establish them in different forms. So that's basically that. I mean, for somebody that I think that is very, very inquisitive, I could have said We are actually meant to look at different operators tonight, how we can use different operators. When I talked about operators, they are like operators in mathematics, like plus, minus, stars, minus, multiplication, division, modulus, and all those stuff. We are meant to look into it and see, because I mean, you can use programming to write your almighty formula to build a system that you will just input your value. I think I'm going to do that for us in the course of this thing, that this almighty formula that we're talking about, once you understand the mathematical process, you can actually write it in code and you can reuse that function many times. Or what you just need to tell them is put your value for it, input your value. Once you input your value, what you built is going to calculate the value for you, and we are good. So that's why we need to understand different data type for us to be able to achieve that. So, and we need to understand operators too for us to be able to achieve that, because you need to know when you want to write multiplication. It's not that you write multiplication in words. It's going to be in like a symbol level, so something like that. So that's basically what I want us to look into today. So the floor is open for us to ask questions. I actually do have like 6 or 7 minutes more. Yeah, it's question time. I mean, for any one of us that have questions. Should I assume that nobody has a question? We all understand everything that we discussed tonight? Hello, let us unmute, so if it is possible for us.
Yeah. Well, the problem that I might be having for now is how to convert the way you convert double
to integer.
To integer, converting them.
Yeah, it's basically like, let's say for instance, now you declare a number like this. Let's say y, and I call it of a data double, and maybe by mistakenly I put 89 in front of it. Just put dots. I mean, IntelliJ is not going to do that for us right now, but like in some other ID, you can actually do that. So let's say, for instance, I've declared this to be an integer NU, which is of integer 78. So what you just need to do is always dot to int. It's going to give, you could see we have different, we could see we have to integer, to long, to short, to string, to byte. So it always comes with those keywords. Just understand that you always come with those keywords of to whatsoever that you want to convert it to, different data type that you want to convert it to, maybe to big decimal. So you just need to understand that, and mind, and let me tell you, nobody knows it finish. Programming or programmers, we Google too. I mean, you can just Google that. How can I convert a value of a double type in Kotlin to integer? You see different people that will give you different opinion and different ways of doing that. So that's it. But I think once you go through this, once you practice on your own and you go through this, you will understand better. Just type and put dot in front of it. You're going to see different options of what it's going to give to you. Press dot to, and you're going to see different options that you. I expect us to actually play around, and on the group, you can always ask me questions as well too.
Thank you.
So, are we fine? Are we good? Is anybody has any other question? Any challenges?
when I try to run the same thing you run on your own, the way you type out everything, I try to run it here. It keep telling me expecting a top level declaration.
Expecting a top level display. Can you send what you type to the chat? Then I can look at it.
Okay.
Just copy and paste everything you type into the chat, then I can look at that.
You mean the WhatsApp? WhatsApp?
Okay, send it to the WhatsApp.
Or should I?
Okay. No, you
Or
can send it on this chat. I mean, on this
okay. On Zoom.
on Zoom, yeah.
Oh, I can't do that. I can only do on WhatsApp because
Okay,
I'm
just do
using,
that. Just do that. Just do that, please.
using my phone for now. I've
So have you
done
sent
it.
it?
Yes.
So if I copy your code, let me just copy your code and just gonna copy your code and paste it here. And let's see why your code is not running. So what is the error here? There's no error.
Can you run it? Try
Okay, let me just try to comment my own code out. Let me run it. I wrote the code actually does run.
What am I doing wrong? Oh, sorry. Everything you have said, I first typed it out before I made declaration. So I supposed to put it as a statement. I supposed to declare that all those things I typed there, they are statements by using front slash asterisk, then asterisk front slash.
So if
Just
you
to
want to do
declare
that,
statement.
they are just comments. See,
Yeah, they're just comment. Yes.
they are just
Uh-huh.
comments, and IntelliJ will help you. Just put, if you want to do
Okay.
it, IntelliJ will help you. Put a forward slash and a star and press enter. It's going to just press enter with it. It's going to finish the remaining one for you.
Okay. Thank you. I think that should be the problem. Thank you.
Yeah, so I think that's that about that. So did anybody has any issue again apart from that? All right, in the absence of none, I have another meeting to catch up by 8:15 as well too, yeah. So
Thank you.
I'm open to any question on the group. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for coming. I do appreciate. Let us practice when we get on. At our free period. Thank you so much. Thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank
All
you.
right. Enjoy your night, Sazama.
Thank you so much, sir.
Yeah.
Really appreciate that.
Bye.